So I'm going to be trying something different here, and I'm going to be go over the opening themes for Idol anime, and it's just the first season only, or the first opening only, because I don't want to go through too many. So why am I doing this? So yes, I am a Love Live YouTuber, and I really only cover stuff about Love Live. So why would I care about looking at it? Because I'm curious to see how does Love Live stack up against the competition. Do I like the other ones out there? I'm sure some are going to say, well, clearly you're going to like Love Live stuff. You're going to be biased towards it. And, duh, yeah. I am a Love Live YouTuber. I wouldn't be a Love Live YouTuber if I didn't like a bunch of the songs from Love Live. So you are going to notice that trend. But I do want to see, are there other ones out there that I'm not familiar with? So I'm going to go and rank these relatively blind. And I'm going to see, do I like these songs or not? Or these opening themes? How I'm going to rank the opening themes is more or less basically how much I like it. So it's going to be mostly based on my bias, but the things that I usually like when I look at opening themes are a few things. The two main things, of course, is the music, and then the other thing is the animation. For music, it's mostly a personal preference, but I usually like hearing a different amount of instruments and a decent pace, not too slow to make it boring, but it's mostly based on how I like it and the style and all that. For animation, I'm going to be looking at some older ones, so I'm going to be keeping in mind when it was animated, so I'm going to be a lot more lenient on older ones, but I'm going to look at scene selections. Is it going to be boring? Are you staying on one scene for a really long time? Is there something interesting happening? Are you randomly jumping to a bunch of scenes around there? Are you using too many scenes from the anime? You know, is that something that I could do? That's the basic gist. I want it to be interesting, a fun watch, but I don't want it to be lazy or it doesn't look good, because there are a few that seem to fall into that trap. But those are the two main things. You know, there's a few other things, but overall, it's going to be based on my bias. So, you know, don't take it too seriously. I'm sure you guys have other things that you like as well. But yes, I will be putting up a tier list. So here's my ranks that I will be using. God tier is for my absolute favorite ones. So not necessarily just my favorite Idol anime openings, just straight up my favorite openings ever. And that's how I'm going to be ranking them as opening themes, not just Idol ones. Always watch is going to be ones that I always watch it, but not necessarily my top absolute tier favorites, but a good one nevertheless, and I would generally watch it when I am watching the episode. Occasional watches, sometimes you watch it, sometimes you don't, depending on how you feel, but it's still a good one nevertheless. Mid is, you know, mid. Watchable is someone you probably can watch it if you had to, but you probably really don't care for it. That never watch again is ones that you watch it once and you're like, yeah, I don't want to watch this again. Not that great at all. And my eye burn, those save for the special ones that burn your eyes when you look at it. So the ones that are not good at all. So that's the tier list I'll be using. But yeah, so more or less, I'm going to be going over a bunch of anime. I think I had 40, and I'm just going to be looking at a bunch of idol anime as well as a few that are idol anime adjacent. Some have idols in it. Doesn't really have the style of Love Live, but I'm going to include those for diversity's sake, as well as a few that often are compared to idol anime, but not necessarily with idols, so it's hard to say it's an idol anime. It's basically what a lot of people define as an idol anime on the internet. So without further ado, I'm going to be going over each of these songs, starting with the oldest one, which goes way back to 2002. The first opening theme that we're going to be going over is Full Moon wo Sagashite, with its opening theme known as I Heart You. So this one, of course, is definitely older, so I'm not going to be strict on how much I like the look, but for 2002, honestly, this looks kind of good. I'm not the craziest fan of the art style, but it gets worse in the later ones, unfortunately. But the song is decently catchy, and they spend a decent amount of effort in the animations. It's not the most cool-looking thing out there, but honestly, this is something I am definitely think that I would have watched a lot, especially in 2002. So overall, I think this is a pretty solid one, and I would definitely give it at least an occasional watch. So jumping a few years ahead, we're going to go to 2006 with Kirarin Revolution with its opening Koi Kana. So this opening theme overall has some elements that I think are decent for the time, and some parts that I just don't really care for. The one thing that I don't really like is the character design. this is the late 2000s has the area of anime where a lot of the characters have eyes that are like size of like really big fists, and I just think that looks not good. I mean, we even go back to 2002. I prefer that art style. That I'm not huge on that. No, there was the scenes where they had like the bloom turn up to the max, or it's so bright you can't see that well. I guess it was for the romantic lighting, but I didn't like that at all. It just doesn't look great to me. But for the rest of it, the scene selection was fine. I wasn't crazy about the chorus at all. It was kind of felt more of the same, like the beginning of the song. The chorus is supposed to be the climax and generally your favorite part of the song. I didn't like it that much either. So overall, this song culminates to an experience where I just didn't really care a lot for it. Some scenes are fine. They change it up here and there. But overall, I just don't really care to watch it. But yes, this is 2006, so I'll be nice and give it a little bump, and I'll put it into the watchable section. But that's really all I feel about it. Yeah, I could watch it, but like, I don't know. Not a big fan of it, this one. So of course I had to include Idolmaster. Of course, this one is the first Idolmaster out there. Idolmaster is Xenoglossia. I know some of you are thinking, oh no, not this. But, I'm going to do it. I don't know how idol-like it is, but I'm going to do it anyways. This one is Binetsu S.O.S. And honestly, this is better than I was expecting it to be. It is very much kind of has that mecha anime opening kind of feel. I don't watch too many mecha anime, but I kind of like this opening, to be honest. It's got a decent amount of the scenes changing, and I feel like if it was a mecha anime, they should probably have a little bit more action, but I guess to balance it, it's also got idols in there. So it does a little both, which I just find this an odd mix. Like, it's kind of weird to have idols and mecha, right? But the song itself is actually kind of decent, so I actually don't mind watching this one. So I'm willing to give this an occasional watch, especially considering for the time. This had some pretty good animation for back then. Did I say it was weird to cross idols and mecha anime? Because apparently not. We have another one right after that. So we have the opening theme Triangular from Macross F or Macross Frontier. And honestly, is this really from 2008? Like, the animation on this has been pretty dang good. This looks better than some of the animation I've seen in 2023. And the song itself is decent, but I just find it a little odd of a fit for a mech anime, which you would think gotta be fast. There's a lot of action going here, but it just feels like it's kind of an odd mix here. But the art looks good. I like the scene selection, and I'm not most like crazy in love with this song, but it's still a pretty decent song, and I like this opening theme, especially for this time. Seems to be pretty solid. So I'm gonna put this in occasional watch, but I'm gonna put it really high because I think this is a pretty exceptional one. I'll show you now that I can change the world, and now So now we go to Skippy with its opening, Dream Star. So this opening theme has some things that I like, some things that I'm not crazy about. So in the beginning of the opening theme, we have the girl who is, chilling in the forest, and she kind of has some flashbacks or kind of other scenes in there. But it's not that really interesting, and for an opening theme, I would think I'd have a little more action, a little more diversity, but it's kind of like, I'm going to go run out to this forest. And I don't find that very exciting. There is one scene that I do like in it, and that's when we go past all these scenes, because this is the beginning that feels like it could have been one whole sequence. And the scene that I like is when she's running across that crosswalk, and you see the transition of her through the dresses, as you see her evolution from a normal girl to an idol, and that's what was really cool. But that's kind of the main redeeming feature of this opening theme. The song is fine. I mean, we have someone who probably English isn't her first language trying to sing a song that's in English, and she does a fine enough job. I don't have too much trouble trying to figure out what she's trying to say, but it's okay. But overall, I think it's an alright opening theme. It's nothing too crazy, nothing too bad. So I would say it's mid. Alright, it's finally time for me to piss off Idolmaster fans. So we're going to go to the original Idolmaster that's not Xenoglossia in 2011 with the Idolmaster with the opening theme, I'm Ready. So honestly, this was actually pretty good. I was a little surprised, or maybe I shouldn't be, but you know, I kind of like the song. The song itself was kind of fun to listen to, but there's a few things that I'm not crazy about. A lot of the scenes felt like they could have taken straight from the anime, where they're just talking, and I mean they do change the scenes enough where it's not too egregious. That's kind of one way to mask it, but I felt like they should have had more custom scenes strictly for the opening theme. That's what would have made it even more interesting to watch. It's still a fine watch for sure, and the song itself I do find relatively catchy. And one of the things I kind of found a little goofy is when I first listened to the song, when they were singing the chorus, they were saying, "I'm ready," but they were saying it in a way that sounds like I'm a lady, and I'm like, I know you are ladies. Why are you singing a song about that? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But overall, I kind of did like especially the beginning part. They did have that custom animation there for that, which that's something I would like. I would just like to see a little bit more of that. But overall, it's still fine. You know, it definitely built on, essentially nothing. It was kind of the first that really standardized what we expect from opening themes for anime. And I think it did a pretty bang-up job of setting a standard. So for overall, I think this is worth an occasional watch. But I'm going to put it really high. It's not something I would watch all the time. But I think this is a pretty good opening theme. So now we move on to Uto no Prince Sama Maji Love 1000%, and the opening theme is called Orpheus. This one is a lot more dramatic and tense than I was expecting. Like, I guess this was defined as an anime, but it really doesn't feel like that. It definitely feels a lot more like a shoujo anime, or a bunch of pretty guys and one girl. And I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but I guess they're idols, so I guess it counts. But as for the opening theme and the song itself, I kind of do like it, honestly. It's got a lot of interesting moments in it, and when you watch it, you're like, wow, that's kind of cool. It seems like a lot of it's connected to one whole event, and it felt like you could probably deviate a little bit more from that. But overall, honestly, I did find it relatively entertaining when I was watching it, and I kind of like the song too. But again, it's a little odd for an idol one, but I'm not going to really dwell on it too much. So overall, I say this is going to be an occasional watch for me, and pretty high on it because I think this is actually a pretty solid one. Did you know AKB48 had an anime? Because I didn't. So we're going to 2012 with AKB48. That's the name of the anime, and the opening theme is called Kibou ni Tsuite. I don't know, man. This opening theme has some elements I think that's cool, like some of the animations look nice. They got some interesting animation to it, but a lot of it just feels kind of meh. There's a bunch of scenes in there, but they're random, and there's a bunch of moments where they kind of zoom out and put text around it. I don't really think that looks good, to be honest with you. And I'm not really entirely sure what is exactly going on. You have a bunch of scenes where they're crying and them floating around, and when we get to some of the moments where we actually get to see the dancing, it looks really cheap, to be honest with you. Yes, it's 2012, but even in 2012, when you do 3D animation, it looked better in other anime. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. It is watchable, sure, but honestly, I'm not really excited to watch this anymore at this point. The song's okay though, I guess. So now we're going to Aikatsu with its opening Signalize. And it's fine, I guess. So I've never really been a big fan of Aikatsu and its art style. I think the character design is kind of lame almost, I would say. it could look nicer. There's feel like there's a lack of detail, and in a lot of more kid-friendly animes tend to do that. I don't know, maybe it's easy anime, but I wish it looked cooler and nicer. You know, the idols try to make them look really, really pretty, and I just think other idol anime do it a lot better. The song itself is fine. It's nothing exciting. It feels a little. It could use a little more flavor in it, more instrumentation, something to make it stand out more. But I kind of find myself relatively uninterested when I was listening to the song. The scenes are fine. It's all right. The chorus was not that very interesting. But the animation for dance is also I don't know. I was hoping to see more from a lot of things here, and I was just left with meh when I was watching this throughout. It could be worse, so I'll leave it in watchable. Alright, it's time to talk about Love Live. Can't wait to see it instantly go into God tier, right? No, not so fast. So this is Love Live Squad Project, which released in 2013, and the first opening is called Bokura wa Ima no Naka de. And of course, yes, I do like this anime, but one of the things about Love Live that was very notable, especially in 2013, is while they did use some moments of the opening theme used 3D animation, it wasn't super apparent, and that is not so much true back at that time. You could tell, and it definitely doesn't look as good. And usually 2D, the animation looks better than in 3D, especially at this time. And that's one of the things I think Love Live did well. Yes, you could still notice it. I notice it every time I look at it, but it still looks pretty good. As for the opening theme itself, I think it's a little heavy on the moments in the dancing part. You know, we're not trying to watch an MV here, but it does change it up enough, and I find this a really nice, energetic song and fun to listen to, which is kind of a good job of the opening, is to get you excited to watch the rest of the episode. It's not my favorite opening, but it is one of the ones I do enjoy a lot, and it's something I still listen to today. So this one's definitely going to go in an always watch. But, you know, it does a fantastic job. It is not something I think I would recommend to everyone, but for an idol anime, this is definitely one of the good ones out there. So now we're going to Pretty Rhythm Rainbow Live with the opening theme called Boy Meets Girl. I was not a big fan of this opening. So there are some elements of it which I do like. There are some of the moments in the animation that I think were decent. And some of the characters I kind of like their designs, not all of them. But the main thing that I really don't care about it is the song itself, which is, you know, a pretty big part of the opening. Like, can the singer actually feel like any emotion when they're singing? Like, they feel like they're disinterested when they're singing, and the chorus is kind of a pretty big letdown. But overall, the rest of it, I feel like it's fine, nothing special in terms of the animation with the scenes. But I really don't care that much for it, and I was hoping for a little more in the dance scenes. So overall, how do I feel about it? It's going to probably come out a little mean, but I probably never would watch this again because, bottom line, I just don't find myself that interested whatsoever. So, I'm sorry, but never watch again for me. So now we're moving to what I'm called for short, Locodol, and that came out in 2014 with its opening theme, Mirai Fanfare. And just straight up, just by the look, it looks a lot better than a lot of the other anime I've seen, you know, beforehand. But honestly, the art looks kind of clean. It's not my favorite every single scene, but just looking at some of these scenes, I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty nice upgrade and pretty dang good for 2014, I would say for sure. And as for the actual opening theme itself, it's okay. Like, the song's all right. But feels a lot more like a slice of life anime than an idol anime, and you know, I'm sure that they do show them singing here and there. But the girls who are singing are supposed to be these idols are only wore t-shirts. So hopefully, if you're an idol, you can get a more interesting outfit than that. But it's fine. I don't know. I think it's mid. There's nothing very inspiring of it. There's nothing super unique. It just gets the job done. So overall, it's okay. It's mid. So we're going to cover Prepara now, and a lot of my feelings for Prepara is kind of shared with Aikatsu. This opening theme is called Make It, and there are some elements of which I can appreciate in this opening theme, and some that I just feel are a little below average. I don't like the character design so much. I find them a little bland. I wish they could have more detail in life to them. It just feels like it's lacking. I think Sophie's the one character I guess I thought was alright. The costumes that they show, sure, they're alright. And none of the animations, I don't have too much of a problem with it. Probably the one thing I would say is when they're doing the dance in the chorus, or whatever it was, it felt like it was a little, I don't know, robotic almost. It felt like they could have definitely been a lot more fluid. So you know, it's fine. And the song, the chorus part of it was actually not too shabby, but it's not really a song that I care that much for. So for me, it's not really, I'm not really into this kind of stuff, but it is watchable, and it's definitely a little better than the other watchable ones I've seen so far, so I'll probably put it in high watchable. So when I first watched the opening theme for Wake Up Girls, known as Tachigata, I had some hopes for it, but the more I watch it, the more I kind of got a little disappointed by it. The art, the animation seems fine, but a lot of these scenes feel like they're taken straight from the anime, and maybe they are. I didn't watch the anime, but I don't know, that does not really make a great opening theme usually. And I was kind of hoping maybe they could show a little more dancing, or, you know, show that they're idols or something. But it felt like they're all straight from the anime, and there's too much talking in the scenes, and I just don't really think that makes a good opening theme. And that's kind of where my main problem lies, because it's pretty egregious on that, because it's almost abundantly obvious to me that's what it feels like they did. And some scenes just don't really make a whole lot of sense in this opening theme. I don't know, like, you can keep the scenes short and change it fast to try to mask that, and they do that. And I do like the way this ends. I kind of like that, although, you know, it's just panning, but I kind of like the art, though. So, on overall, I was going to give it a mid. Like, the song's alright, and it's not egregious how bad they did that, but they could have done something much more interesting in this. So now we're going to cover the next Idol Master, the Idol Master Cinderella Girls, which released in 2015 with their opening Star. And overall, I think this is a pretty good one. It's awfully reminiscent of the 2011 one, where they had, in the beginning, they had a kind of custom animation, and that's probably my favorite part of this opening. You see all the girls dance and see all that stuff there. That's nice. I wish more Idol animes did this. But the rest of it, it's basically just a bunch of girls hanging out and interacting with each other, and you get to see them talk and all that. It's not the most interesting thing for me. There's also the part where they just display the logo. That's not also the most interesting part. It still looks nice though. But, you know, I would like more idol anime to not try to rely on, feel like it's grabbing scenes from the episode. I would like to see more custom stuff than that. And it still looks fine, don't get me wrong. But it's definitely not going way above and beyond to make something great. But we get to see a bunch of the scenes where they're talking, and I'm just like, that's not really the best thing to show for an opening thing, at least in my opinion. But once we get to the chorus, you know, I definitely do enjoy it. We get to see the girls dancing finally, because they spend most of this episode preparing for this kind of live. But, you know, it would have been nice to see a little more of that. But overall, I do enjoy this one. I would say this is an occasional watch for me, probably a little lower in that section. But I still think this is a pretty decent watch. So now we go to Aikatsu Stars in 2016 with Start line. And yeah, let's talk about the obvious. When we get to the chorus and we look at that dance, that's a big yikes. No, I do not like that. That's not a great looking 3D animation. So that definitely breaks it up. But for the rest of it, honestly, it's not that bad. The characters, I think they look a little more interesting than the other Aikatsus that I've seen so far. They're more interesting, and we get to see the girls walk around. And I just think it's overall a much more interesting opening theme. The song isn't the most interesting, and yeah, that animation, of course, is a big yikes. But overall, I see this as a bit of an improvement from Aikatsu. So for me, I think it's a mid, but a low mid. Yeah, more or less around that. So now we're gonna go to B Project, which I'm assuming stands for Boys Project, and their opening theme is Kodo Ambitious. I gotta say, this is actually pretty decent. Like, no joke. So, if I had to complain, it's probably the backgrounds. So the backgrounds, yes, they do look nice, and they do change a lot, but there could be stuff that is a little bit more interesting than a background that's just a color and shapes. Like, you know, we have like red and diamonds and blue and squares and such. And, you know, it still looks nice, but it's not more inherently interesting than a really, really nice looking background here. But they definitely change it and keep it interesting. A lot of movement. A lot of things that I think looks pretty good, honestly. I like a lot of this animation in here. Some of the dancing animations, it's clear that it looks like they overlaid it. So they're not actually dancing on the stage. If you look carefully, you kind of see them almost moving weirdly. But that's more or less my main complaints. The song itself, honestly, is actually pretty good. I actually do like listening to this one. I find it kind of catchy. So overall, this is a really nice, flashy opening, and I think it does a lot right. So overall, I don't think I'm going to always watch this, but at minimum, I think this deserves an occasional watch, and I'm going to put it really high in there because, honestly, this was actually a pretty solid opening. For Magic-Kyun Renaissance, with the opening theme being called Magic-Kyun number 1, I don't know, I find this kind of good in some ways, but unremarkable overall. So a big theme of this opening theme is that they like to do their stained glass. You know, you usually see those things like in old churches and stuff. I'm not entirely sure what this has to do with the anime, but, you know, I didn't watch it. And, you know, that makes it unique. But I don't think stained glass looks as nice as, you know, high quality anime art. Just inherently, I find it less interesting. Yes, it's unique, and I'm sure some of you must really like that. But thematically, I don't know. It's just not really a thing that I find that interesting. But otherwise, you know, it's just a bunch of pretty boys, and they all sing. And, you know, they do have their parts where they sing, where it's kind of a solo, which I do like that. So overall, I don't know. It doesn't really stand out to me. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does because it's unique in that matter of with the stained glass and stuff. The style is something I haven't really seen. But beyond that, I don't see anything that is really compelling me to watch more of it. And I see stained glass, and that's cool, I guess. So overall, I kind of find it mid. You know, the opening's fine, and the animations are pretty decent, but there's nothing that really pulls me in. So now we move on to the second one for Love Live Sunshine with Azura Jumping Heart. And I'll let you on a little secret. I wasn't a big fan of this song when it first came out. I didn't really care so much for the way the song started. I don't know, I just wasn't a huge on it. But beyond that, as time went on, I come to like this a lot more. And I think this opening theme does a lot of things right. So first and foremost, yes, we do get to see a good amount of dancing here, but you see a big improvement between the 2D and 3D, where it's even harder for you to see what is 3D. You can still notice it if you really look at it, but it does such a good job. And when you especially compare it to a lot of the openings around this time, you can see the animation quality looks great, especially in like this scene right here. Overall, I really do like the song. It's fun. It gets you excited to watch the rest of the episode, and I think it's a little much on the scenes that it shows from the dance itself, but it looks really nice and clean. And the song itself is really fun, and the scenes it does show beyond the dancing, I find it pretty fun and very fitting. So overall, I really do like this one, and I'm going to put this in an always watch. I don't think it's God tier for me, but it's something I do generally watch when I watch the anime. So So now it's 2017, so you know what that means. It's time to trigger the Bong Dream fans. So there are some decent amount of elements that I do like in this opening theme. And the main thing I definitely want to talk about is the visuals, because I think in the visual department, it does a lot of things that I like. We see all the girls going around, and we get a good look at a bunch of the girls. One of the moments I definitely did like was when they had the girls, they had to hold in different characters, and they rearranged for Bong Dream. I thought that was pretty cute. I actually liked that in there. Also, there was the visuals where they had a bunch of the girls, and they kind of told what the roles are. That itself, it looks nice, but I wasn't crazy about the audio part of that because they slow down the song at those points, and I'm just like, can you just move on to the part I actually want to listen to, which is, the intro, or the first verse, and the chorus. So I'm not really a big fan of that. I think it slows down the song. The chorus, it's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It could be more interesting. I don't really care that much for it. And we get to see in this opening theme that they use the 3D animation. It's not awful. It's actually decent, especially compared to some other ones. But it's more apparent than you would say, like things like Love Live. You can tell it is a 3D animation. But when they do the 2D animation and you see the girls running around and interacting with each other, I think that's when it's at its best. And that's what it really shows. So overall for me, I'd say this is an occasional watch, because there are some things that I do like in here, but I'm not in love with everything about it. So now we're going to talk about Idol Jihen with its opening theme, Utae Ai no Kyoyaku. So this one, I've been told, is a bunch of girls who are politicians and idols. I'm not sure how that really mixes. It's a little confusing, and they just don't really see politician like. I mean, it looks like they wanted to make an idol group, but we gotta make something different. But no one's ever done politicians. I think there's a reason why, because it doesn't really make sense. Nor are they acting politician like. They just took a bunch of girls that look like they're from high school and you're politicians now. I don't get it, but let's just ignore that because it makes no sense, and I think it's a poorly executed. But as for the actual opening itself, I don't know, it seems fine. They show a bunch of scenes in the politician world, and there are a bunch of girls who are happy and doing stuff, I don't know, whatever you expect in a standard opening. It seems pretty par for the course. The song is alright. The outfits are, for the dancing part, I find it kind of underwhelming. It's just kind of like mustard yellow. I don't know. So in the end, I don't know, it's mid. That's just how I feel about it. There's nothing exciting about it, but I don't think there's anything too egregious. So now we're going to go to Idol Master SideM, which I'm guessing for males. And this is something I've been familiar with, but I figured I should definitely give it a shot and see what it is. So their opening theme is called Reason. And I gotta say, I was pretty impressed. I actually do like this song. I find it fun and exciting. And there are a lot of the animation moments that I thought are pretty nice. We get to see a bunch of the, I don't know, subunits or whatever they call it in this, where they interact and they have each rooms and they all do their thing. I thought it was pretty nice to see them, and you get a little bit of how their mannerisms are and how they interact. The background isn't the most exciting, a bunch of white boxes with colored lines in between, which I think is indicative of the unit, but it's fine. It could have been more exciting than that. And then once you go to the chorus, it's definitely really fun. But again, it could be more interesting in the background. And beyond that, they had a really nice looking colorful sky, but they kind of reuse that a bit. So in the background wise, they could have done something a little bit more interesting. It wasn't that very exciting. I wish they did something better with that. But for the song itself, I liked it a lot. Not crazy about the way they ended. Just look at the logo. That's not the most exciting way to end an opening or ending. But overall, I like this one, and I'm going to say this is an always watch for me, because I actually do like this one a good amount. So now we're going to cover Shining Star with its opening theme called Shining Star. Wow, I wonder how they thought that one up. So this one, if you notice, looks a lot different than the other ones and also sounds very different. Well, that's because it is in Korean. I don't like this one at all, honestly. So first and foremost, I want to let you know I am half Korean and I have seen this kind of animations in Korea before. I don't really like it. This is the kind of animation they use for like kids and stuff, and I've seen it a lot, but it just does not really compare to Japanese animation. The character models look really simplistic, and I don't like looking at it, honestly. It just doesn't look great, and when you compare it to all the other anime, you just think, wow, this is really simple and underwhelming. Now, to be fair, there are elements that do look fine. The stages and the animation, where the movements of, seem alright. Just the character models, just plain put, it makes my eyes burn. I don't like it. The song itself, I actually kind of like it. It was actually kind of decent. In the end, I just look at the character models and I almost cringe a little bit. So in the end, this belongs in the my eyes burn category because, my god, I do not want to watch this one again. To finish up 2017, we have Suki Pro the animation with its opening, Bernie. So at least from what I've seen is that they have a bunch of episodes and each episode kind of has their own opening, but it's not really opening. It's more of them just doing a dance. So it's not really like an opening at all. It's just them dancing, doing an MV, and I don't know. So I guess I'll grade it based on how much I like the MV then. In terms of the MV, this basically looks like a really high quality video game almost, where you see the dance and they are very fluid movements and they have a lot of nice effects in the background. So this would be really great to see in a video game. But for an anime opening, it's alright, honestly. Like, I like the quality is not bad. It's just a little lower in some parts that I would like, but overall, it's a nice song. I'll probably occasionally watch this, but it's not a functional opening whatsoever. But for what it is, I think it's pretty decent. So now we get to Aikatsu Friends in 2018 with its opening Arigato Daijoubu. And it's fine, I don't know, again. There's some parts of this that I do like, like this scene right here where they have a bunch of the moments, but I don't know, it could be a little bit more interesting. They do the scene where they go and show the logo and stay on it for a little bit, and I'm not crazy about all the character designs as well, but it's not too bad. But it's kind of the Aikatsu style. The part where they have the chorus and they do the dance, it's clearly 3D, but it's not the worst that I've seen from them. But there were some things that I also do like. There's this moment here where they had the cutout and walking by. So overall, I think it's a fine opening. I kind of like the main character's look, and there's a few other characters I think look fine. And the song itself, I don't know, it's forgettable for me. It's not bad, it's not great. So overall, for this experience for me, I'd say it's watchable. It's not awful, and there's some things that I think are okay with it, but it's nothing too exciting. Now we're going to do Backstreet Girls Goku Dolls. So this one is definitely a little bit weird if you're not familiar with this one. So this is called, the opening is called Goku Dolls Music, and it's about Yakuza guys who basically weren't doing so hot, so the boss forced them to become female idols. So yeah, that's kind of more or less the context you need to understand, and that's why you see guys showing up in this opening once in a while. But as for the actual opening itself, it's got a unique style, but I don't know, it's kind of really goofy and weird, but I'm not really fully getting it. A lot of the scenes are, you see the girls and they're in a kind of like a cutouts and they're dancing with all the colorful shapes and such. I don't know, I'd rather see the girls themselves dancing than cutouts, to be honest with you. But overall, this kind of builds a kind of a goofy atmosphere and all, but I don't know. I'm not one who's really that into it. It's fine. It has some level of interestingness to it. And I just kind of find it watchable. For some people, I think they might really like this, but for me personally, I don't know. I'm just not seeing it. It's got some merit to it, but it's not for me. So next up is Idolish 7 with its opening Wish Voyage, and the kind of the theme that they have here is they have a bunch of guys who are going to an airport, so I guess they're taking a voyage or something like that. Overall, I gotta say, visual wise, it's actually pretty good. They have a good variation in all the outfits, and I like to see all the scenes as they're walking across the airport, which is really nice, and not just seeing only dance the whole time. We get to see them interacting a bit with each other. The actual motion and the animation, it feels like something's a bit off. It's almost feels a tiny bit unnatural, but it still looks pretty good overall, and we get it overall a kind of a nice experience, and I do like the look of the airport and such. Overall, I feel that this is a relatively solid experience for an opening. It's not my favorite at all, but we get to see a nice looking dance and a bunch of the guys doing their thing here. So overall, I would say this would be an occasional watch for me. It's not something I care to watch all the time, but it's relatively nice, honestly. Now we do Kiratto Pri-chan, and its opening theme is called Kiratto Start. So again, it has some of those elements that we've seen, like with Aikatsu and other Kiratto, but it's better in some elements here. We get to see the theme is seeming like they almost have like a YouTube platform where they pop in and out with the browser. I don't know if I really care about the concept, but you know what? It's different, and the individual elements that they show there in the scenes, I thought could be. It was pretty decent. We get to see the characters dance around, and they do stuff that keeps it relatively interesting. The character design, again, not that interesting. Little plain for me. I wish it was better, but this is what I get for this series. But as for the actual opening theme itself, it does the job. And the song itself is fine. I'm not happy that they spent, what, I think 8 seconds just literally staring at the logo. I mean, come on, 8 seconds, that's quite a bit of time just to stare at something that's not moving. But no, overall, you know, I think it's fine. It's not egregious. It's not my favorite. But out of the Kiratto stuff, it's better than some other ones. So I'm going to put it a low mid, because I think it's alright, but it's not crazy interesting for me either. So I decided to include Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight with its opening theme Hoshi no Dialogue. Yes, it's not Idols. I know. It's just a lot of people who tend to watch Idols will also watch this because it definitely has a lot of similar elements in it. So that's why I decided to put this one in here. And this one, I have some elements that I did like in here. And we get to see like this scene here where they walk across the screen. I thought that was pretty nice to see them all interact with each other. But the actual opening starts out pretty dang slow, and for it lasts a little too long. The opening theme should get me excited and interested to watch, but it takes a while for it to really pick up to get the parts that I enjoy more. And they have some action in here, which I guess that's part of the theme here, but I was hoping it could be a little bit more interesting in the action. Could have been a little faster, but you know, it still looks nice. And we had a bunch of scenes with I wish they had the scenes where they had a bunch of still images and moving across, but that's not the most interesting thing out there. But overall, honestly, I think we got a pretty decent opening. It's not really the one most for me, but I do see there is a good amount of merits in it. It looks good, and I would probably watch it occasionally. It's not my favorite out there. Again, it starts a little slow, and I wish there was a little more action in here, but overall, I think it's still a pretty solid opening. Now we do Zombieland Saga with its opening theme, Arabana Necromancy. This one is a really odd one. So I don't really have a problem with the effort or the animation, because I see it and I appreciate the effort they put in. They have a lot of scenes that are all custom made just for this opening, and it's all things that I do like to see. And the song itself isn't really bad either. It's just, what the heck is this? No, like really, seriously, what the heck is this? I wasn't really sure, because I can't really tell what this anime is about from what this opening thing is. And I know, I actually do know, it's idols that all die and then get resurrected and become zombies and are now idols. And that's why it's called Zombieland Saga. But it's hard to tell. You can tell these girls are zombies sometimes and sometimes not, and they're fighting creatures. Like, what is this? A Power Rangers or some kind of spin off of that? Or based on those references, you can't really tell what the heck this is. So how does that do a job of an opening theme? Like, it honestly doesn't. It just feels like this is almost like a parody or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I like this or not. Like, I see elements that are nice, but I'm just left confused. And I feel I can't see how this is relevant whatsoever. So, overall, I think I'm going to rate it mid. I think. Because I see elements that I like. But overall, this left me relatively confused. How is this supposed to be for Zombieland Saga? How is this related to Zombieland Saga whatsoever? I just find it such an odd fit. But I do appreciate a lot of the elements that I do see in it. So I guess I'll put it in mid for now, despite me being baffled by what this is trying to do. So now we go into Ensemble Stars or Ensemble Stars with its opening theme, Stars Assemble. And I don't know, a lot of it seems relatively decent. I don't know, the song's decent. They have a bunch of characters that are all idols, and there's a wide variety of them, but some of them, I don't know, they just feel like different for the sake of being different. Like, oh, how about this idol? He has a sword. Or this one, he has a ninja star. And I don't know, it just feels like they're trying too hard to make it different, and I'm not really seeing it. A lot of the characters seem kind of not that interesting. But overall, the scenes, the selections, all that kind of stuff, it fits. It's fine, but it doesn't. I don't know. Something just feels weird and off to me. But there's these scenes where they had to cut animation, what I do like, and we get to see a lot of them sing. I think it's a competent one. It's not something that I really care that much about it, but I think it's mid. Nothing too exciting, but I don't think there's anything he does that egregious either. So now I did want to include a Chinese one, because I figured why not, for the sake of diversity. This one, I'm going to definitely say it wrong. It's Jin Tang Kai Chi Yo Ming Jing. Don't know Chinese, sorry about that. And the opening theme is called Jin Tang Wo Kai Shi Zhou Ming Jing or whatever. So this one, I gotta say, honestly, it's if you don't know the fact that it's Chinese and you don't actually listen to the audio, you would think, yeah, this is actually looks like a relatively standard anime, and the animations that it has in there is pretty good, honestly. So honestly, I was kind of surprised, because it looks good. Only if Korean can do this, that would be great. But honestly, it does a lot of things that I do like. It seems to have a relatively standard, not usually remarkable elements to the actual opening thing. But when we get to the chorus, the stage, that actually looks pretty good. I'm not crazy about the song, especially because when you get to the chorus, it's kind of feels like more of the rest of the song, and chorus is supposed to be the climax of the song. It's the part you're supposed to get really interested. But overall, I did say I enjoyed watching and listening to this. So overall, I think this is a mid, but it belongs high in mid, because honestly, this was actually pretty decent. So now it's time to make the 4DJ fans mad. So this one is First Mixed, and the name of the opening is Guru Guru DJ Turn. The whole opening theme kind of builds this kind of theme of being really goofy, and I'm not really sure how that has to mix with DJs and all. But I can't say I'm a really big fan of that. And we get, I mean, the scenes that they use, yeah, are sure, it's kind of interesting. But my only part that I really liked was this part here with the Piki and was it Phantom Maiden or whatever it was. But the rest, it wasn't that great, and I'm not crazy about the way the girls look. It's clearly 3D and such. But this scene though, I do like. I don't know why, but this is the scene I listen to all the time. The other scene I would probably say I thought was pretty decent was the chorus when we get to it. I like that, but part of the nature of this is that they kind of switch between groups, which we have the standard Goofy style, and then we also kind of have the middle part where they had the Piki, which has a very different style. So it's kind of an odd mix, and how they do it, it's kind of hard to execute and make it good. So there are elements of this I do like, but the meat of it, it's kind of not really for me. And I don't know, because they clearly use a 3D animation, but I do think they do a pretty decent job. But it clearly still has that 3D stink to it, where I could tell it's 3D and it's not 2D. But it's not too bad, honestly. Overall, though, I'm okay with it. But the only reason why I'm going to be watching most of this opening theme is for the Piki part. That's at least what I'm going to call it. And the chorus. And the stuff around it, it's kind of like I really don't care for it. So overall, I guess I could say it's an occasional watch for me, because I do occasionally watch it just for those moments, but the rest I don't really care for. Now we go to Lapis Relight, and its opening theme is Watashi Shitachi no Star Trail, unless it's Start Rail. I'm going to go with Star Trail, because I guess it might seem more relevant to lights. But the overall, this opening theme I think does a lot of things pretty decently. Nothing I think is too exceptional. It seems relatively par for the course. We see a bunch of girls. The opening, that was kind of interesting. I guess the background's not the most interesting, but I guess they're doing to make it more dramatic, and they kind of start slow. I think that's fine, especially it's nice to see all the girls there. And beyond that, we got a bunch of the moments where they're doing their thing, messing around, fighting, interacting. None of it looks like it's all strictly from the anime, which I guess is pretty good. And the song itself, I think it's alright as well. And I get it's kind of nice to see kind of the girls do the performance and they all run around and such. So I think it's overall a pretty solid one for an idol anime, but it's not something that I'm desperately in love with or anything. So this is something I probably just occasionally watch because it does a pretty good job overall. Alright, we're going to do Love Live Round 3 with Love Live Nijigasaki High School Idol Club and its opening theme, Niji Ito Passions. So this one is probably out of the 4 that I'm going to cover is my least favorite out of it, but I still definitely do like this one. So we get to see a bunch of the girls running around. I never really understood them being in tuxedos, but I guess that's alright. But we get to see a bunch of girls do their parts. They get to interact in the school or the environment that they're around. And I mean, I liked all the scenes and how it changes it up. I wasn't crazy about the art style they chose for Niji. I still prefer the all-star style that they have, but it still looks fine. It's just not as good in my opinion. And the song itself is fun and exciting to listen to. The outfits they chose for Niji Ito Passions isn't the most exciting. It could be worse though, but overall, it is a solid opening. When to do the dance, they stick with the dance, but I still like the end of it though, where they have the characters flashing and with all the pictures. That's something that I really did like in this opening theme. But overall, it's still good. It's something I would occasionally watch. I'll probably put in a high occasional watch because I do like it a lot, but I think there are other opening themes that do a better job. Now, in 2021, we go to Idol Pride with its opening theme, Idol Pride. Man, people need to come up with better names. So, Idol Pride, I think, is I don't know, par for the course. The look looks alright. The outfit is pretty uninspired. If you thought Ancient Passion was boring, hello, welcome to Idol Pride. It's even more boring. But the scenes that they have is just a bunch of girls interacting. It just feels kind of like a standard slice of life opening theme, not so much idol opening theme. I guess, they do a little practice moments here and there, but that's kind of what it feels like. Par for the course, nothing very exciting, nothing that's very interesting. But the song itself, the song is honestly pretty interesting. I like the tempo to it. It builds up and it kind of climaxes in a chorus, and overall I find it kind of fun to listen to. So overall, what I get from this is it's par for the course, really. It does some things nice, but it doesn't do anything that really stands out for me. So that, by definition, makes it mid. And I think that's relatively fair. Last up, we have Love Live Superstar in 2021 with its opening theme, Start True Dreams. And I honestly do like this opening theme for many reasons, but let's talk about the thing that I'm not the most crazy about. And that's the fact that a good amount of this opening is just a dance. It's like an MV with occasional things sprinkled in. I think they could have toned it down a little bit more, have more scenes of the girls interacting and such. But that's probably my main gripe, because I do like this song. It's fun. It has a lot of moments. They have a nice big stage, although there's no audience in there. I guess that's because it's COVID year, sure. Let's go with that. But the moments that they do show with the girls, it's been pretty nice. And it's a really nice, fun song to listen to. It's got a nice build up to it. And it's really exciting once we get to the chorus, which I can't say that's true for a lot of opening themes. So overall, this is definitely one of my favorite openings to watch. Yes, it has its problems, but this is something that I would probably always watch when it comes up on the opening in the anime. So overall, I think this is a really nice opening. It could be better, but it's still something that I do really like and listen to all the time. So now we'll go to Selection Project with its opening Glorious Days. And honestly, the art looks really nice for this opening. I really do appreciate the effort that they spent in it. The scenes look nice, the characters look nice. It's one of the best ones that I've seen throughout just most of these opening themes in general, and that's something I really do appreciate. And maybe it would be nice to do a little more custom animation in some scenes, but overall, the stages, the art, it looks really nice, and that's something I really do like. They also had a few moments where I really liked as well, where they had showing where the girls are coming from, and they kind of had their grade out the scenes a little bit. That was really cool as well. But overall, just the visual department looks really nice. Maybe they could have been a little more exciting with changes of scenes and such, but I think that part is done pretty well. The main thing that I wasn't crazy about per se is, when they flashed a bunch of scenes, kind of like a really fast PowerPoint, and they also, the song itself is, I don't know, it just feels a little odd to me. And they started really slow. It almost feels like what they're trying to be like Enka or whatever they call it. I'm like, we're not in Africa or anything, but it's just, I don't know. The song itself really just doesn't hit it with me. And that's the main thing that really brings it back for me, because I don't really care for the song whatsoever. But I'm going to give it a high mid grade, because I do really like the visuals in this. So that's where I feel like this belongs. And for last but not least, we have Zombieland Saga Revenge with its opening Taiga yo Tomo ni Naitekure. So hopefully this will prevent Zombieland fans from suing me. So it still has a lot of the elements of Zombieland's first opening theme, but I like this one better. Not that it's like more relevant to zombie idols. It's still not abundantly clear, but the animations they put in there's a lot, and it looks really nice and clean. And I don't know, for some reason I really like this one. And the beginning of the opening I really liked as well. And overall I just kind of like the song a little better. So I don't know. Not that this makes a whole lot more sense than the last opening theme, but for some reason I enjoyed watching this one a lot. And part of it is probably because a lot of the visual effects that they put in there, which I really do like. So overall, I don't know. This is something I probably always watch because I liked it, what the effort that they put into it. And no, it's not less confusing per se than the other Zombieland one, but I like the song more, and I like the visuals. Sure, it's a little confusing, yeah, but I like this one. Well, that only took an hour, but what did we learn from this video? Well, for me, I don't know if I learned a lot, but it was nice to be able to look at a bunch of different opening themes. And you know what? There are a decent amount out there that are pretty good, especially because I never really cared to look at idol anime that was only about males. But they honestly did a pretty decent job overall. And you know, this is not my indications of how much I like the anime, because it's just the opening theme. But there are some pretty decent ones out there, and even the older ones, they still have a good amount of merits to it. But overall, you know, Love Live did a pretty good job. Yeah, I am a Love Live YouTuber, but Love Live still stands towards the top, and there's a reason why a lot of people like it. And you know, when you look at the charts, there's a reason why they're really high up there, is because they do a good job. You know, this is just a silly video, nothing to take too seriously. I just want to take a look at them, and I'm curious to see what are your guys' opinions on these. What surprised you if you haven't seen these before, and you know, what do you like about it? You know, you don't have to say Love Live's the best or whatever. But I was curious to see, and it was nice to be able to hit a lot of the bigger names as well as a bunch of smaller ones that probably don't get a lot of the time in the spotlight, because you know, a lot of people don't know they exist. So overall, honestly, it was kind of fun to do this. I wish I was able to do this faster, but it took me a while to really get how I felt about a lot of these opening things. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below, and if you'd like to see more videos like this. I know some people will hate my opinions on it, and that's fine. Just don't be mean about it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope to catch you guys in another video soon.